Okay, so we're back in Blender now. And we're going to take this Bryce character that we downloaded. We're going to import FBX and go to downloads. I really need to organize my downloads folder, but I've really let it go too far. So here's the bouncing fight idol. We're going to open that up. Let's see what we got. And here we got the character in Blender, and he's all animated and everything. That's neat, right? Cool, huh? Okay. Let's see if his textures have showed up. They are there, kind of shiny. So we'll go in here to shader editor, and we will look for the textures. We'll go through and, fix the roughness on everything. You don't need that much roughness. And okay, so now that we've got him all in here, we'll go ahead and get all of the external data unpacked, and we will use files in current directory. And it didn't do it, so that's great. Alright, let's try external data, unpack linked libraries. Yes. And then we will do external data, unpack resources. No! Okay, that didn't work. Alright. Anyway, so maybe you just have to manually go through and tweak with this roughness settings. Not real sure what this file is, but we'll take it off and see what it does. You want to get the metallic out of it. Alright, that looks pretty good. Alright, we're all set for this guy. We want to make him turn into a werewolf, right? Okay. So, let's go ahead and save this. And we'll just put him in my Widowmaker folder, because that's where I have tons of other werewolves. We'll save him as, I don't know, what was his name? I forgot. I can't remember what his name was. Bryce. Okay. So we'll go here and we'll name him Bryce. Bryce Werewolf. Save Blender file. Alright. This should be pretty straightforward. One thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get rid of his hair. Just delete it. Bye-bye, Bryce hair. Now he just kind of has a generally black, spot on his head, which is fine. But what we're going to do now is we're going to put the armature in the object data. We're going to put it into rest position so that we have him standing in rest position, all ready to go. And for the head, arms, and legs, we're going to go ahead and hit make a shape key, basis, and then make another shape key and call it wolfed out or something. Alright, and we're gonna click value 1 and turn on edit mode, shape key edit mode. So now when we start messing with the mesh, it should create this shape key that we can blend to. So we'll go to sculpt mode. Hopefully this works. It didn't work with the first thing I tried. You want to make sure that you have enable mesh symmetry on x-axis, and then you just kind of start playing with pulling the polys around. Might be easier to put it in this mode to where you can kind of see how things are reacting. And you can use all these different sculpt tools. None of these ever really turn out the same. And I'm really not going to spend a ton of time doing this on this, just so I can show the basic principles of it. You got to keep that symmetry on, or else it'll come back to bite you. This mesh deforms pretty nicely. And I like this snake hook tool. It really kind of gives you some real quick deformations that look pretty cool. When you get close to the eyes, though, you might want to mask them out in sculpt mode so that you don't adjust the position of them. So we'll go ahead and mask these off so that when you sculpt around the eyes, it will stay where you want it. Which, if the eyes move, that's cool, but you have to make another shape key just for the eyes to put them in place when everything else is moving into place, if that makes sense. So it's probably easier just to make the eyes stay in the same spot. And this is kind of terrible, but I'm just doing it to show you how it's done, not to make an amazing character. Although if you're going to do something, you may as well do it right the first time, right? You know, sculpt it till you're happy with it, how the end product result looks. If you don't know how to use the sculpt tools, well, that's a whole nother tutorial that you need to take from somebody. Alright, on the mask, you can clear the mask when you're done around that spot. And don't stretch it too much, because then it'll become a problem. I also like to kind of dig in underneath the chin and make the neck wider, because the head gets bigger, so the neck needs to be wider to support it. So we'll inflate the neck a little bit. We'll deflate the head a little bit. Give it a little different shape. Ew. Yeah, be careful because you will lose some of your, like your eye location. If you turn the mask off, you might screw it up. Alright, what do we do about these ears? Okay, so we'll go ahead and mask off the area of the ears. Mask this whole thing off. This mask is really hard to tell where you're masking on. Yeah. Alright, so about like that. And then we will invert the mask. And we're gonna just grab this whole thing with the elastic deform. Move it up. And back. Okay. And then we're gonna take clear the mask. I'm gonna take the snake hook tool and really draw out the ears. And if you do it too much, it'll get real thin looking. But just little movements with this snake hook tool will give you some cool effects. Some ears. Alright. Let's call that good enough. We'll bring the neck back in so it doesn't clip too much. Alright, so we've got our finished werewolf looking face. And if we go here to the value on the shape key, you can scroll back and forth in between the transform and the regular face. I'm seeing some issues though, like the way the neck is clipping here. So we'll just grab that. It's got to be in one though, so you have the full transformation. And we'll just bring that in so it's not so egregious looking. And he's kind of weird looking. Maybe not a werewolf, but some sort of weird dog-like thing. Let's get his nose a little wider. Again, you could tweak this and tweak this until it's exactly how you want it to look. Which I'm kind of a perfectionist, but I'm also impatient to get to the next step. So we will wrap this up here. Alright. It's pretty good. Could smooth a little bit. You can see when When you can start to see the geometry in smoothed out mode, then you need to smooth it a little bit. Alright, so that's our werewolf sculpt. And you can see when we change it from Bryce to werewolf, it works pretty good. Okay, but also included in this are the hands and the legs. So we want to change those as well while we're in the same shape key. So we're gonna take the snake hook. It's so good for doing this type of thing. And we're just gonna grab the fingertips one by one and drag them outward. And the snake hook will automatically taper it to a point, so it kind of makes it easier to use the snake hook. Then you don't have to really calculate how the fingernail is going to turn out. Ooh, that one turned out a little weird. Might want to do that one from the side or something. And it's not perfect, but you can always grab the tips with this grab one. And just drag them downward. As long as you've got your symmetry enabled. And if you make the brush size bigger, you can grab more of the fingertip if you really want to tweak it. But you know, for my purposes, this is probably going to work okay. That one's a little flat looking, but again, you can play with it until it does exactly what you want. And if it worked right, his hand should be normal in the regular shape key, and then get bigger like that. There you go. Alright, you might want to bulk out his arm a little bit. Seems a little string beanie. So we'll just use the inflate tool on that and kind of give him a little bit more of a Popeye arm. But I wouldn't do too much near this juncture here because you're going to want to keep his shirt on for this transformation. However, you may want to change the shape of the shirt. So let's tackle one thing at a time. The legs, I don't know if we're going to do a whole lot to them. Maybe make them calves a little bigger. And flay around on that. I'm going to turn on X-ray so I can hit the whole side profile of both. There we go. It's pretty good. Alright. So now he's a super athlete werewolf. Alright. And it's all controlled by this one shape key. So, great. Now get out back into object mode. If you want to make the shirt transform, it's a separate object, so you'll have to zoom in on it and give it its own shape keys, basis, and then key 1 wolfed out. And I'll show you how to link these two together. Wolfed out. edit mode here. Got to be ready to edit. And go back into sculpt mode. And we'll add some blobs to crease its chest. Oops. Don't do that until you click on your symmetry. It's a little boob looking. There we go. We'll just inflate it a little bit. And I'm sticking away from where this juncture is with the arms because we don't want to have to really mess with that transition. And we'll make his lats kind of poke out more. There we go. Looks like he's bulked up a little bit. And we're going to put this multi-plane scrape on here just to give it some more definition. Just kind of run it down the back a little bit, give it some more contour. Hit it with another inflate. And then the shoulders, make the shoulders puff out a little bit more. There we go. Alright, so that looks pretty good. If you really want to get wiggy with it, you can sculpt all kinds of details in there, but we'll go ahead and call this good. What we're going to want to do here is go back to object mode and then click on this one on the rest of his skin, and we're here where it says wolfed out on the wolfed out key value. You're going to want to right click that, go down to copy as new driver, okay, and then go to the shirt and then go here to wolfed out and paste driver right over top of that. So now when the face wolfs out, the shirt will wolf out too. So you can see. Alright. So we're looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. What happened to our materials? I don't know. I'm not sure what happened to our materials. Where is our materials? Okay. We're going to try to find these materials. I don't know why we lost the materials. So that's kind of bunk. Huh. Okay. Well, that's irritating. So what we'll do is we will import another FBX version of the same guy, Bryce, because you're making me do this. You're making me do this, Bryce. And he's got the little bouncing fight idol. Alright, so we got another little copy of Bryce with textures and everything. So we're going to go here to try to link the materials. Alright, so I'm clicking on the new Bryce and clicking on the old Bryce shirt, and then hit Control L, link materials. Oops, wrong way. Alright, so click on that one first and then click on the one with the materials and then go link materials. And hopefully we won't have this problem next time. Kind of frustrating. We're going to take this secondary one that we had to download, and we're just going to delete hierarchy. Alright, so now we're back in business with some textures, except for the eyelashes. Let's just get rid of those. Just for the sake of brevity. Alright, so now when we go here to our armature, we can put it in pose position, and he'll do his little idle. But we should be also able to physically transform him to the wolf guy. You can see it while scrub through the timeline. Okay. Alright, so we're in business. So we'll go back here, select the armature, rest position again. We'll go sideways here, and we are gonna give him some human hair. So select on the mesh for the head and arms and legs, and go back here to the relative. You want to click on basis. You don't want to put that on the shape key. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create a vertex group. Add vertex group. Rename it hair. And then go to edit mode. And I like to turn on the X-ray mode just because it's easy to get to all of both sides of the mesh here when you're selecting these vertices. I go with the select circle, and I just kind of grab a rough approximation of where the hair should be. And we're going to go around and make sure that we got everything we want here. Let's turn off X-ray, and we can select a few more verts that we want to get. Now, this doesn't really work with the mirroring, so you kind of have to just go get what you want to get. And this also works for creating beards and mustaches. And we'll go ahead and just give him like the beard and mustache, just so you can see how this works. I'm gonna just kind of paint where I want the mustache to be in the vertices. Give him a little goatee. Doesn't have to be perfect, but The more perfect you make it, the better it'll be. Let's go look at it sideways with... Now, if you can see this, you can see in X-ray mode, you don't want to select the mouth area in X-ray mode, because what's going to happen is you're going to put hair on the inside of the mouth, and it'll, you know, clip through the model and look really shitty and weird. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paint carefully around the mouth area, because you can see it in the X-ray mode, and then connect it up with these sideburns here. Alright, and with that done, it's a decent little hairstyle there, you know, okay, that's where his hair will be. When you've got all that selected, hit assign to your hair vertex group, and to make sure it's working, you can deselect it and then select it again. Deselect, select. Okay, so you created the hair vertex group, so you're good to go. So get back into object mode, and you want to go here to particle properties, click on it, and click plus. It'll show up as an emitter with a bunch of white balls, but click on hair, and then also click advanced. And then down here at vertex groups, for density, you want to go down to hair, and then I always kind of tweak the length of it, because it'll come out 4 meters long, so you want to reduce that to something kind of workable here. And we'll call it 0.03 meters. Alright, so that's our base hair. If you want, you can do maybe 2,500 strands. We'll give you a little bit more to play with, guide hairs. And something interesting to note, the hair comes out the color of the diffuse map. So if you want to change that and make it all come out black, you have to click on the head model, go here to the material properties, click plus, create a new material, and if I can rename it hair, and make it black. Okay, and then, you know, you might tweak with it a little bit right now, but you're not going to see it yet. So go here to your particle properties again, and where it says render, click material, hair. And so now all the hair will be black coming out of his head. Alright, so how do we get it to look less like a toilet brush? Alright, so let's go side view, and we're going to go back into viewport shading mode, and we're going to hit particle edit, and it'll show you all the particles in black. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on our X-ray so we can see all the particles throughout the whole head. And then we're going to take the comb tool, and it's I always scroll back to where it's just very small and I can fit the whole head into the tool, and then I will just grab it and kind of slick it back and kind of down, And this is an art. You really have to do this a lot to, figure out what works the easiest. But just kind of moving it around, giving it a little bit of direction to go in, and also make sure that if you're in X-ray mode, that you want to be in X-ray mode, although you don't want to do the whole hairstyle in X-ray mode, or you don't want to have perfect symmetry on the whole head, head of hair, if that makes sense, just because it'll look unnatural. So then I'll get a little closer with it and just kind of see what you can do through the whole head to give it like its base shape here. So I'm just going to kind of quickly, establish the direction of the guide hairs. And they look a little long here in the face, so I'm going to grab this length tool and shrink the stuff around the mouth. And, again, you could spend lots and lots of time doing this to make the hairstyle look right. You want to cut his hair shorter, you can do that. Give the beard a little bit of a taper. And all this is real general though, because when you turn it on the side, everything is straight up and down from the front. So you'll want to kind of mess with that a little bit too. Maybe now is the good time to turn off the X-ray. But take your comb tool and just kind of spread things out a little bit. Get close to it if you need to. Again, like the more time you spend doing this, the more realistic you can make the hairstyle. I always like to make it, stand off the head a little bit. And with the X-ray off, you will have to go back to the back and adjust some things from the back. So let's see what we got from the back. It looks kind of unnatural, so just kind of grab it and fluff it out a little bit. Just very small motions will kind of give it some flow and take away that real regular look that looks unnatural. Alright, now that should be pretty good for demonstration purposes. So if you want to see what you're looking at, then go back to object mode. And that looks pretty good for the guide hairs. What we need here is it's very sparse. So you'll see it's very sparse looking. So we want to go here to Children and click Interpolated. Okay. And it'll display 10 and render 100. So that'll give you a little bit different weird, you'll wonder why it doesn't look right. So go back to render 10. If you want it to be 10, 10 will probably work. So now we're seeing what you see is what you get as far as like the amount of particles here. So let's go ahead and tweak some of this, get some of this specularity out of the hair. Looks real shiny. Alright. We do need to get rid of this roughness map here, or, take some of this metallic out of there. There we go. We'll leave the roughness and take the metallic out. That'll be good. This one here doesn't need any roughness, or needs all the roughness, I should say. Alright, so save that. Alright, now you've got a guy with a hairstyle who, if you transform him, go down here to wolfed out, it kind of stays in the same areas. If you want the hair to go away, as you can see, it will change things. And if you turn on hair dynamics, forget about it. It's going to be something that you have to bake every time, and that gets crazy. So really don't recommend that. Alright, so that's his regular hair. All done. Okay. So now, if you want to do the hair for the fur, you have to basically do the same thing that you just did with the face, but you have to do it with the rest of the body parts as well. So we're going to go through that again. We will get him to where you can see everything pretty easily. And just for the sake of this, we'll turn off the visibility of the old particle system, just to make it easier. So we will go back into Object Data Properties, and you will make another vertex group, call it Fur, and then go here to Edit Mode, and it's kind of up to you whether you want the fur to actually be in the same vertexes as the hair. If you don't, you can just easily click select invert, and then just go through where you don't want hair and subtract it from the selection. And that's pretty easy to do in X-ray mode. If you don't want it on the hands, you know, hold down Control and just delete that selection. Unfortunately, in these selecting modes, I haven't had very much luck trying to mirror my selections, so you have to just kind of do it by hand, at least, unless somebody else knows how to make this work. Alright, so we don't want any there. I'd say right at the juncture of the shirt, we don't want any. Where the shirt goes underneath. Why? Because that would be weird. Hairs piercing the shirt. The ears, you probably don't want a whole lot of mess in, so if you turn that to the side and get kind of close and you've got X-ray on, you can delete the hairs from the inner ear, and it makes it look a lot better. But then you do want, still in X-ray mode, to get most of this hair. Like, let's just assume we're going to go to 0 with the regular hairstyle, and then we have to rebuild all the hair for the wolf. Let's just go ahead and make the hair for it. And as you can see, I'm preserving the no hair in the ears because that looks crazy. And there's hair in the mouth. That's not good. We may have to delete that. Okay, so to get it off the eyeball and the mouth, we're just going to have to, we're just going to have to subtract everything like that in our X-ray mode from the side here. So everything that's inside the mouth here will be untouched by the hair. But then we have to go back and we need to rebuild spots where we need hair. But we'll turn off our X-ray mode. Go back to front view. And then we'll shift select to get a more precise around the eyes. Again, doesn't probably have to be perfect. And the more perfect you get it, the better it'll look. We'll just stay away from the edges of the mouth there. We might even delete a little bit on those lips. Okay, and to do that we'll hit Control to delete what's on the lips there. Because who has hairy lips? Nobody, that's who. Alright, that's looking pretty good, at least for this demonstration. We'll go ahead and get rid of the stuff that's going to clip through the shorts because he's keeping the shorts on. Alright, with all that selected, what about the shoes? We don't want him clipping through the shoes either. Okay. So now that we have this vertex group, this here will be our fur group. We'll hit assign and we will deselect and then select to make sure we got it, and it's good. So go back to object mode. Turn that back to that so we can see it. Object mode, we will click on particle system. Now this first one we're going to name it hair so we know and can distinguish. And we'll turn it on so we can see it. And then we'll add another one and we're going to do the same thing we did before. Click hair, make it ridiculously less long, maybe 0.2. Let's try 0.02, and we will make it hair colored, and then we will click density and we'll go to fur. You really can't tell because the hair isn't combed yet, but we've got it missing in the spots where there's no vertexes selected. So we're gonna go here to particle edit, back into this view, viewport shading, X-ray on, and we're just gonna kind of make it come down the arm. Like, again, this is where your artistry kind of comes in, you know. Kind of make it look like it flows naturally. Definitely comb it down away from the edge of the t-shirt sleeve. And just give it a little bit of tweaking. On the side view, I'm going to go ahead and now the fur is a little bit more hard to figure out, so what you might want to do is go down and show the wolfed out parameter while you're sculpting the hair. And you can do a lot of this. Sorry, get quiet when I'm working. On some of this facial stuff, I'm going to make it shrink. So I'm going to shrink it down quite a bit, so it's not so overpowering. And if you need more guide hairs, you can add more guide hairs, but for this I'm just going to show you what it does with the children. So we'll go back to object mode, and you can see a few guide hairs here and there, but we really want to look at children for this. So you go to children and let's display, 70 children. And if you don't like how the particles are looking, you can always tweak them. Again, the better you do this process, the more convincing your werewolf character will be. On the ears, try to brush them all upward, where you can even see them. You can't even really see them. Alright, so that's good enough. Go back to object mode. Alright, so we got Tony Hawk, or Bryce, the skateboarding werewolf here. Okay. But his texture skin looks kind of weird, doesn't it? I mean, is it just me? Let's take a look at that. So to change his skin color, we go here to the shader editor, and we're going to unpack this item. file from current directory, and we're going to look at it. So it's right there. We can see it. So here we're going to open up another spot here where we can see image editor. We're going to open that image. So this is what the current image looks like. Alright, so we're going to save this image as, and we're going to call it Bryce Wolf Text Diffuse, and save as image. So then we're going to click over here into Photoshop. We're going to hit open. We're going to find our Bryce Tech, which is where? Right here. Open this up. We're going to make a new layer in Photoshop. We're going to select everything that is vaguely skin colored using the quick selection tool. Maybe, oh, got to be on the background layer. Everything that's skin, we're going to try to grab here. And then we're going to try to get rid of the stuff that ain't. And grab that. Perfect. Alright, so on layer 1, we're going to select whatever color you want this wolf to look like. We'll just say, oh, kind of a blackish gray, and we will Alt delete file and to fill in that layer and deselect. And we're going to set this layer to, oh, you can mess around with it, you know, a lot of different ones of these would make it look cool. But we'll just go with multiply, or let's try darker color. You might have to mess with the fill a little bit. And multiplies better. Alright, you guys can tweak this as much as you want, but this layer here is going to be your layer to give the wolf its texturing. So we'll go ahead and set it to we'll just go with multiply for now. And then we will export as PNG, and it's called Bryce Wolf Text Diffuse, so just save and it will overwrite. And then we go back into Blender, and in our shader editor, because here's the deal, we want him to look normal when he's a human, but when he's a wolf we want his skin to darken and look a little bit more dark underneath there. So we're going to disconnect this base color Or wait, where are we? Yeah, okay. Disconnect the base color, and we're gonna duplicate it. Click on this to make a single user copy, and we're gonna hit open image. We're gonna find our Bryce Wolf text that we just made. No, that did not work. Why didn't that work? Okay, well, we need to add a mix RGB node here. So I'm going to click that into the base color. We'll click this top one into the top. Okay, I'm not real sure why you linked the real file. What do we got here? Okay, I went there all. Alright. Okay, so let's just make one here where it doesn't have that. So then export as PNG, and we'll call it Bryce regular text diffuse. Bryce reg text diffuse. Okay. Sometimes you gotta do that kind of thing. And on this one, we will go Bryce reg text for views. Open image. There we go. And the bottom one is going to be Bryce wolf text diffuse. So now you should be able to switch between light skin and dark skin. Now, how do you make that work with the transformation though? Okay, I'm glad you asked. Remember when you made the key, the wolfed out key? You want to take this wolfed out key on the value and copy driver as new driver, and then go here to the mix node and paste into that. So now this one shape key on the skin area controls the entire transformation, except for the length of the fur, which we can get to. Alright, so that's set up and working. We'll save that so we don't lose it. Now, to get the hair to work in concert. In the children, paste driver. Alright, so now save. In order to control this entire transformation, you just use the wolfed out key. and it works. And you can keyframe the other hair going away if you want, or you can leave it. Sometimes it adds a little something to the character. Alright, so there you have it. That is mainly the workflow. You clicking back into pose position. And you can set the, if you want to make his little idle animation last longer, you can go into pose mode, select all, grab all these keyframes, copy, go to the end and paste. And a lot of these Mixamo animations are loops, so you can just paste him like this whole time. And say that's cool. We will set a 200 frame end. Do a little something with the camera here. Let's get out of pose mode. Alright, on camera, I'll select it, I'll get it where I want it. Where is our camera? Okay. So, that's not where I want the camera. So I'm going to go back here to this view, which I like, and I'm going to hit Control-Alt-0, which will move the camera there. And then holding down G, I can kind of tweak that setting where I want it. Then let's turn on auto keying. And we'll move it just slightly to give it a keyframe. And then we'll go to frame 200. And we will, I don't know, we'll zoom it in and get a little up close and personal with it. Obviously, you can do a lot more with your keyframes or whatever. If you want to make a cooler video, then make a cooler video. And what I like to do is I like to use an HDRI, and for that I have this really handy HDRI Maker. It's a great add-on. It costs a little bit of money, but it's so worth it. I highly recommend it. I use it in everything. And we'll find some sort of outfit for him to be standing in or whatever. Let's put him in a garage. And we will add it in 4K. There we go. Now it doesn't look like, it looks good, but one of the things about HDRI Maker that's nice is you can mess with the background controls, including project it onto its own little dome. You may have to tweak the size of the dome a little bit to make it look right, but and there's a little warping at the edges sometimes, but alright, that's probably good enough. So now when the camera moves, the HDRI stays to that dome, and you can also rotate it on the axis, and it's pretty cool. And the lighting will change for you. You can increase the intensity, etc. You can add a sun system that's I don't know if it's synced, but you can sync it. Alright, anyway, just tweaking around with this is a whole nother tutorial. If you want to change the amount of brightness, you know, it's got like a black filter that you can actually, you can change that to a different color too if you want. But we'll just go ahead and do this to darken the scene just a tiny bit. Alright. I guess it's time for a render. I'm going to go ahead and pick the spot where I want it to render, which is my Widowmaker file folder. And then I'm going to call it Skater Wolf Dude. And since I don't like to have a trillion PNG files in my computer, I'm going to render it as an AVI JPEG at 75%. Frame rate 24, that's good. Alright, but we still haven't done the transformation, so we will start this transformation about, let's start it at 50. So we'll go here to frame 50, select the head model there, go to the vertex shape keys. We're going to hit I in the value to give it a keyframe. And how long should it take for him to transform? Let's go to frame, we'll go to frame 120. And then we will, with the auto keying on, we can change the value of the wolfed out key to 1. Interestingly, the fingertips go through the palms because the Mixamo animation had balled up fists, which you can change that if you want, but I'm not going to do it for this tutorial. So now you should have a pretty smooth transition starting at frame 50 and then going to frame 120. If you want it to take a little bit longer, you can just drag that last key you made up to 150. So it'll take 100 frames for this animation to take place. That's fine. Anyway, we will save that, and I don't know, I like to do everything when it comes to this, so we'll go ahead and click depth of field on the camera, and we're gonna find that little sweet spot. Actually, we'll just focus on the armature. And we'll bring that down to maybe 0.8, just because it's exaggerated. No, that looks terrible. Alright, now we will save. But we're going to go ahead and give it a little render just to see how it looks. Eevee looks pretty decent. Let's see what a preview looks like in cycles. Pretty good, but Definitely want to have your GPU game going for that. We'll just render it in Eevee because it will take a lot less time. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording and then I'll render it and then you can take a look. Okay, so we're back and we have rendered this out. It only took a couple minutes on Eevee to render. So let's take a look at it. Came out pretty cool. Looks pretty good. There are a few things that I might try. You might try turning on hair dynamics when you get the action the way you want to see if that smooths out the way the hair looks when it's moving. But the motion of the actual armature isn't going to be as big of a problem as the motion of the shape key. So it might be worth rendering it out with some hair dynamics settings, but the scope of that I can't really get into on this. But anyway, that's how I make werewolves, and I hope you like it. And if you have any questions, please let me know and comment and like and follow me on YouTube and all that good stuff. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and happy werewolf making.